Dana Rebick with the latest on this leak. Dana.
Well, the leaking of a document like this is unprecedented in modern history. It does not dictate the law yet. The final opinion is expected sometime before the end of June, but many are now concerned that other laws related to the notion of privacy in the United States, including same-sex marriage, could be at stake.
Women's rights in America are under attack.
At an event for Emily's List, a Democratic political action committee aimed at electing female candidates in favor of abortion rights to office, Vice President Kamala Harris tonight responded to the leaked Supreme Court draft opinion on Roe v. Wade.
Those Republican leaders who are trying to weaponize the use of the law against women, well, we say, how dare they? How dare they tell a woman what she can do and cannot do with her own body?
Politico obtained the opinion, which would strike down the 1973 Supreme Court decision guaranteeing abortion rights and the 1992 subsequent ruling that largely maintained those rights. Today, Chief Justice John Roberts confirmed the authenticity of the draft opinion, but he says it's not final, calling the leak an egregious breach of trust and opening an investigation into the source.
It concerns me a great deal that we're going to, after 50 years, decide a woman does not have a right to choose.
Today, I'm angry, but importantly, I'm motivated. I'm motivated to make sure that we take this moment as the opportunity, truly that it is, to stand united in support of women all across this country.
Planned Parenthood of Illinois is preparing to take in women who travel from surrounding states with abortion restrictions as anti-abortion advocates praise the Supreme Court.
A victory for the pro-life movement, but I think more importantly, a real victory for the United States. I think that having abortion play such a central role in our federal politics over the past 50 years, it has just really been incredibly toxic.
We're going to fight in the Senate to overturn it. We will fight at the ballot box to elect members of Congress and the presidency who will terminate the tenure of this radical extremist court.
As congressional leaders prepare to battle the pending decision, local leaders reflect on what they are calling a direct assault on freedom.
It's a day for certainly of reflection, of anger, of despair, but I hope in my heart that it's also going to be the mark of a day of action.
Nearly 1 in 4 women will seek an abortion during their lifetime, and a recent Washington Post poll just found a majority of Americans do support a women's right to choose. Roughly 30% of Americans say they feel that Roe v. Wade should be overturned.
Thank you, Dana. The leak is generating a lot of attention from people on both sides of the issue.
Anti-abortion and abortion rights rallies were held in Chicago today, and WGN's Jenna Barnes now live at Federal Plaza with more on that. Jenna?
Yeah, Ray and Micah, abortion rights advocates say overturning Roe will not end abortions. It'll just make them a lot less safe because they'll become illegal in many states. Illinois is not one of them. Advocates say this will likely become an island in the Midwest for abortion rights.
Rise up for abortion rights! Rise up for abortion rights!
As dozens of people rallied for abortion rights in downtown Chicago, Governor J.B. Pritzker made them a promise.
Abortion will continue to be safe and legal here in Illinois as long as I'm governor.
He joined members of the SEIU Healthcare Union.
Abortion is healthcare.
Blasting the Supreme Court's draft opinion that would overturn Roe v. Wade.
This will disproportionately affect low-income Black and brown women. Women who have some financial resources, like a middle-class job, have better access to health care, including reproductive health. And if they find themselves with an unplanned pregnancy, they can travel and do what it takes to get a safe abortion, even when there are restrictions. But when you're juggling bills to make it paycheck to paycheck, that's not an option.
Abortions in Illinois are protected by state law. People travel here from neighboring states where abortions are less accessible and could even be banned if Roe was overturned.
We're welcoming here, but we want to make sure that women who live in Missouri are able to get and exercise their reproductive rights. And the same with Iowa and Wisconsin and Indiana and Kentucky.
Anti-abortion advocates in the state are also preparing for a possible influx of people seeking abortion care here.
One of our top priorities going forward is going to be to expand our Project Love program, so we're not only able to help women here in Illinois, but to provide resources to the tens of thousands of women that the abortion industry will be luring to our state. So that has always been a part of the pro-life movement. It will continue to be a huge part of the pro-life movement, even more so.
As they try to roll back parts of Illinois law they view as too extreme. Starting this year, providers are no longer required to notify the parents of minors who get abortions.
I will continue to work to repeal this egregious overstep of government, restore parental rights, end taxpayer-funded abortion once and for all.
State Senator Darren Bailey running for governor against Pritzker. The Supreme Court league setting up a fight over abortion rights this fall.
So what comes next? We campaign like our lives depend upon it. Because they do.
And as for the governor's race, so far silence on this from Aurora Mayor and Republican candidate Richard Urban. We're live downtown tonight. Jenna Barnes, WGN News.
Thank you, Jenna. Also, this anti-abortion activist spoke out today about the repeal of the Illinois parental notification law.
Last December, Governor